Hey there, music fans. Welcome back to The Real Music Observer. That's me. I'm Dave. I am The Real Music Observer, observing real music. Want to talk about the band Foreigner. Been wanting to do a Foreigner video for quite a while. The band celebrates its 40th anniversary this year, and there's a lot of hoopla surrounding the band. I was a 16-year-old when Foreigner 4 came out, and I gotta tell you, one of the great albums of all time. As far as rolling the tape in the spool with the pencil because I had worn it out. Yeah, I did that quite a few times. I remember being at an amusement park that summer, and you know those guys that run the rides, typically when you were 16 years old, you got into the craziest ride you could. I got in a ride that was on the ground, okay? It wasn't in the air, thankfully, because I just don't do those. And it still had quite a bit of a movement where the car kind of swung around and spun. I think it might have been the Scrambler. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Well, the dude running the ride selected a fantastic tune to ride by. It was Jukebox Hero. And I remember hearing that thumping beginning with the bass and the drum, and you're going around and spinning, and as you get close to the speaker, you hear that, then it goes away and it comes back. And it provides the soundtrack for trying to keep your fried dough down, which was not an easy task. But I remember that moment was like etched in my life as like one of the coolest things. And I had the album, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing, that I have this album, and everybody loves this album. And Foreigner 4 was one of those just one-of-a-kind musical moments. Now, fast forward, a lot of events have transpired. I'm not going to go through the entire history of Foreigner. That would be a bit of a waste of time. The reason they're called Foreigner is because they had American guys in the band and British guys in the band, and now they've still got just one. They got one Brit still left in the band, and that's Mick Jones, the only original member. They got Kelly Hansen to sing around 2004 and 5. Kelly Hansen from the band Hurricane. And his big hit song with Hurricane was called Na 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 Na, I'm On To You. Now, is that a good song? That's horrible singing, by the way, but is that a good song? That's a pretty good song. And Hansen sounds nothing like he does now. In fact, I think he sounds better for his role in Foreigner now than he did, of course, when he was singing for Hurricane, trying to be a heavy metal crooner. Needless to say, I am a Lou Gramm fan. I feel about Lou Gramm as I do about Steve Perry, that it's a tough replacement to do. I think Hansen is a better replacement for Gramm than Arnel Pineda is for Steve Perry. I will say that. However, there are some things that Lou Gramm did vocally, gymnastically, especially if you go back and listen to some of the early Foreigner stuff, and Graham's solo material. There's a tune called Just Between You and Me. A Midnight Blue is obviously a gem, but this tune, Just Between You and Me, which was the lead single from his second solo album, where he goes up, where you think he's actually gonna, his voice will level, and the next note is going to be either the same or it's going to drop one octave or so. He goes up an octave, and it's like, okay, I'm Lou Gramm and I can do this. Of course, Lou Gramm had a brain tumor, and he had the tumor removed, and that really screwed him up. He was kind of on the verge of, we don't know what's going to happen with Lou. It was extremely scary stuff for a couple of years. In fact, when Lou, and there's video of this, Lou gets back with Foreigner for a while before they kick him out of the band. They basically say, you can't sing anymore, so we don't want you. That's kind of what happened to Lou Gramm. It's kind of sad. Mick Jones was the one who issued the statement saying, look, you can't perform up to par anymore. We don't want you in the band. And yes, the whole thing did take its toll on Gramm, both vocally and his appearance. He gained a lot of weight. That wasn't due to binge eating. It was his pituitary gland and just caused him, and the medication he was taking for what was a just major operation. I don't even know how the guy pulled through that operation, but needless to say, there's this video footage of Gramm singing I Want to Know What Love Is with Foreigner after the incident, and vocally he's straining. He sounds better than he had sounded prior to that, but it was a real rough go for Lou. But when he hits that part where he sings about heartache and pain, I don't know if I can take it again. That whole line, can't stop now, I've traveled so far. I mean, it's just one of those things, and you're watching him sing it, and you know what he's been through. And, you know, if you're not getting a little emotional, you're probably not alive at that point. And then he's got this big choir. In fact, at the beginning of the video, I want to say it was with some London-based choir. Lou starts talking about how this song calls for a choir, and I think it's still on YouTube. It's just, I can't watch it. But my point is the 40th anniversary, and by the way, I'll throw this in there too. Journey's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. ELO, yes. Foreigner is a great band, and they are essentially an American band with some foreign guys in it. But you could go either way. I think they sound American, and Mick Jones, of course, being the Brit, I think knew how to produce and engineer. And this is no critique against Kelly Hansen. I like Kelly Hansen. Kelly Hansen isn't Lou Gramm. He's better than Lou Gramm is now, but he's not Lou Gramm. And I think it's very appropriate on this 40th anniversary for a true band reunion, not just getting together to celebrate, million-selling CDs, which they did for the No End in Sight CD. And then the band comes out and produces some music. Fire Still Burns, and it talks more or less about how the passion is still there for Mick Jones, and that's great. Mick is entitled. He's lived a long life, and he's had ups and downs in his life as well. And I know he's got a book coming out as well, so a lot of stuff going on in the world of Foreigner. And Foreigner on tour with Cheap Trick, which is a kind of a cool thing. Again, I'd like to see Lou Gramm at least perform a couple of dates with the band. Even if he doesn't do the entire set, have Lou get up there for a few songs, and Kelly Hansen, stand down for, a set or two in honor of what I believe to be one of the greatest rock vocalists of all time. I mean, you could easily make a case for Lou in the top 5. You could. You really could. I mean, you got Perry, you got Robert Plant. There's some other people you can throw in there vocally who do amazing things. Paul Rodgers for endurance and longevity. He still sounds fantastic. John Anderson, who's also being inducted this year, hopefully will reunite with Yes. That's another video I can make. But Anderson, what's great about him is he can still sing. He can hit all the high notes, and he sounds just as good as he did when he sung Owner of a Lonely Heart or Roundabout. But again, getting back to Lou, I think you need to honor Lou Gramm. Lou Gramm has been through so much, and the way that all transpired when he left Foreigner, I thought was a little weak on Mick Jones's part, and that may have been a flashpoint to retire the band at that point. And I think that kind of forced Lou off the bench and back into playing the game. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that Lou Gramm felt as though, hey, if they can go without me, I can go without them. And again, Lou Gramm, if you hear him on certain nights, he's good. He's fair to good. On other nights, you say to yourself, poor Lou. I think he needs to retire. I love him. And I think, by the way, vocally Lou Gramm has recovered as much as he's going to recover. In other words, he can still bring it and hit most of the old notes. The problem is his voice doesn't sound anything like it did in the old days. But I do think the band needs to honor Lou Gramm. I think he is, again, an irreplaceable vocalist. Steve Perry, the same. I mean, you can go down the list of vocalists who've been replaced, and you scratch your head and you go, how do you do that? I mean, it's just one of those things where, you lose a guitar player, you lose a drummer, and you can move on. But when your vocalist has got such a signature voice and sound that it makes it so difficult. Some bands do it. The Little River Band, for instance, is still going strong. They had a great vocalist, but they had two vocalists in the band, and so the vocalist who took over or sung a couple of their later hits is now currently their lead singer. And there wasn't as much of an identity issue in that band as there is in other bands. Some bands it really works, in other bands it doesn't. I mean, and solo artists, of course, have it a lot worse because they're singing. It's kind of hard to replace like Rick Springfield with someone else because it's Rick Springfield. You know what I'm saying? Same with Sammy Hagar. He's a guy, by the way, who can still bring it, Sammy Hagar. And Van Halen and him should get back together again before that whole thing just gets too late and nobody can sing or play anymore. Anyway, that's it for my video. Again, Lou Gramm needs to be honored in Foreigner this year, 40th anniversary. And Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Committee, you really need to look at this band. I know Lou and Mick were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and they need to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as Foreigner. Okay? All right, that's it for my video. Comment below. I'm sure there will be a lot of comments from folks who either agree or disagree or want to make fun of me. I will, again, talk to you soon.